Recall in this section that we are working on transformations. A transformation is when we do something to the equation of our function and then we look at what happens to the graph of the function, where it should either move around the plane or be reflected over an axis. So far we have looked at translations, which is what we looked at for moving things around the plane. In this section we're going to be looking at reflections. A reflection of a graph will give a mirror image of the graph over either the x or the y-axis. For our example, we're going to be taking a look at the graph of absolute value of x. In section 1.6, you should have seen that the absolute value of x looks something like this, or a v that continues on forever in either direction. Now for our transformations, we first want to go through and find the absolute value of x and put a negative in front of it. What that's going to do, and you can see this if you graph it on your calculator, is cause our graph to go in the downward direction but still take on that V shape. So we'll get a graph that looks like this. What's really happened here then is when we multiply by a negative value in front of our parent function, it will end up reflecting our graph over the x-axis. Our second reflection occurs when we go through and we multiply each value of x by -1 and then apply the parent function to that. So our next graph, we want to look at the absolute value of -x. Well, it doesn't matter if we're looking at x or if we're looking at -x. If we take the absolute value, we should still end up getting positive values. So our absolute value of -x graph will look very similar, or exactly the same as our graph of the absolute value of x. However, something has occurred here, even though it looks like it hasn't. When we multiply by that value of -1 on the inside of the parent function, it ends up switching the left and right sides of our graph, or it ends up having us reflect over the y-axis. We can't really see this because we've already got a symmetric function, but it is going to end up flipping our graph over the y-axis.